Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 vs 4 on Pointe du Hoc, and today I'm going to be playing with the Panzer Lehr. Now it's been a while since I played with the Panzer Lehr and a few people have been asking for it, so I decided to do a game with the Panzer Lehr on my stream after it was asked for. And if you guys want to check out those streams, they are every Saturday at 8 PM GMT, so make sure you come along. They're great fun, and you can sometimes get in on the games as well, so there's always that. And yeah, just really fun stuff. So in this one we have myself on the Panzer Lehr on the right side here by the cliffs. I picked this side mainly because it's one of the more open sides, but also works well in phase A for the Panzer Lehr, because the Panzer Lehr actually don't favour the open ground in the early phases due to the Pumas not really holding up to some of the higher armour that comes out of the Allied side. So for example, with the Guards Armoured, you have the Church or Cromwell 7, which has 11 front armour. There's also the Ram out of the 3rd Canadian, which has 12 front armour. 4th Armoured has Hellcat and also has Abrams, which again has like 10 or 11 front armour. And then the 15th Infantry, they've got a lot of front armour. So maybe not so much as the other division, so I was hoping maybe for the 15th Infantry at the start of the game. But still, it's going to be pretty difficult for me to break through a lot of the armour that the Allies can put up in the early phases. So I'm going to have to kind of try and play around that where I can. One way I can do that is by getting the Pumas up into the face of like higher armour targets and getting the penetration that way, because Pumas do have high veterancy. So if you keep them with a command unit, for example, they become a 3-star Puma with quite a bit of accuracy. If we have a look, they have 5 accuracy, 3-star veterancy, at close range, will pretty much never miss. And therefore you can exploit the 10 AP that they have in order to destroy higher armor targets. So I'm going to be having the Puma along with some speed troop and a command infantry going around this right side. There's also an AT gun there. For the center, I've got a Panzerwerfer, I've got the 2 units of Panzer Grenadiers and an AT gun. So the Panzerwerfer is another really important unit for the Panzer Lehr. It really allows it to stand up against a lot of the divisions that the Allies can put out at the start. Because the Panzerwerfer just brings so much pain early on, and it's very easy to maneuver. It doesn't get counter batteried very easily, and unless you let it sit in line of sight of like an AT gun or a tank early on, it should stay alive for a very long time, until like the late game where it can be bombed or killed off in other ways. So yeah, the Panzerwerfer, really important unit. I'm going to be using that to target like things like AT guns to allow my Pumas to advance, and also just to hammer infantry and tree lines, or even heavier armoured targets. Because if you panic those units with the Panzerwerfer, which is very possible, you can then charge them down with things like the Pumas because they are very fast. Other units like half-tracks can also be used for that purpose if you don't want to necessarily risk sending your Puma really far forwards. Because there is always that chance that you'll get ambushed by an AT gun that wasn't hit by the strike or whatever. So yeah, there's all that sort of stuff to think about, but let me just speed this up. We'll get the deployment out of the way and carry on with the game, because it did seem to be a pretty long deployment and often is during my streams. But yeah, I had my troops down for a relatively long amount of time, and I'll show you guys the orders once the game starts. So on Pointe du Hoc, I really like this map a lot. The cliff edge here is really cool. However, it does sort of go really badly sometimes because of the way that the line of sight is. It's not very obvious, but there's a lot of hills and bumps in the terrain near the cliffs. And you can see this is one here. So if you have like a tank here, it says that you have line of sight, but you actually don't. So that can get pretty awkward sometimes, and you do have to be a bit careful about that. However, if you sort of look down the map and sort of zoom in like I just did right now, you can tend to notice where the bumps are and work accordingly. You kind of have to zoom down to the eye level of your units in order to figure that out. So yeah, definitely would recommend to do that. But either way, here goes my Puma, just zooming up the right side. He's going to be joined by this Kubel and the command infantry there. I've got the speed troop coming up that side as well. AT gun's going to be unloading into that tree line, and I've got a Panzer Grenadier moving over to this left side, and then I've got one for the centre with the AT gun there. And I do see Abrams coming up at the start of the game. Just by hovering over the units, I figure out who I'm up against, and it turns out I'm up against the 4th Armoured, which isn't ideal because of Abrams, but against the Hellcats, the Pumas can do relatively well as long as they remain in range. And you can see already my Puma does manage to take out one of the Jeep 30 cals, killing off my opponent's recon, and that definitely gives me an advantage early on, as it won't allow him to spot my units so easily. So my AT gun's just sort of moving up quite carefully. This one's a bit more obvious than the one on the right side here. This one's kind of just here in case I got rushed on the right side, which is definitely possible to happen against this Puma, but didn't turn out to happen, and I managed to make quite a lot of ground off the start of this game. So for my half tracks, it's all about just making ground. So you can see I'm putting them into positions behind these tree lines, just to sort of continue to push the front line forwards a little bit. This one's tucked up behind this tree line, this one here, and same here, just at the back of the orchard, limiting the line of sight that we have onto the enemy here. Panzergren's also trying to attack, move forwards through these trees. So yeah, just trying to make ground, waiting for my speed troops to get up. Currently, the main idea that I have on this right side is have the speed troop move up into this tree line here, so that I can see whether or not I can sneak around the Puma or not, because that's kind of what I'm waiting to do. I've also got my Panzerwerfer waiting to hit any targets that are also spotted by the speed troop. And for the centre here, I've got a command now coming up to assist my Pak 38 in case that comes under fire. Panzer Strike Squad with the 250-10 coming in on the right side with the Panzer Grenadiers. Again, just reinforcing this advantage that I already have. And I'm just going to try and hold on to that where I can. Kind of almost ticking the +1 at the moment. It keeps going backwards and forwards, but we have found ourselves 10 points, and that will slowly increase over time. But while we're waiting, let's have a quick look at this Puma in all its glory, as our speed troop runs forwards through the hedgerow. Lovely stuff. So you can see I did end up spotting this Hellcat coming down the road, and at this range, 5 accuracy, 3-star veterancy, I should be able to engage that Hellcat, and that's what I'm kind of counting on here. I'm also counting on the fact he's going to be firing at the 250-10, therefore he won't be reloaded to fire at my Puma, and one-shot bailout. Pretty nice indeed. 10 armor, or 10 AP versus 4 armor. Very likely to do damage. Second shot actually ends up missing, but bailing out that Hellcat early on is a big blow to my opponent. Third shot also misses. And well, with that points invested into the Hellcat there, I'm going to be pushing my 251 forwards to make some more ground. Abrams is on this main road at the moment and not reacting necessarily to my Puma, so I'm not having to worry about that just yet. However, I don't want to get my Puma into the 1,000 meter range of Abrams, otherwise I'm going to be in big trouble. So Abrams here with the 10 armor is an issue, as at max range my Puma is not really going to do the job, and you can see here I'm exploiting the open flank that my opponent has left me. So half track just driving up there, also bringing in the 250-10. I've got my Panzer Grenadiers in this half track here, ready to go. They're actually heading more to the centre, but look how much ground I made off of this 251. Also bringing up the 250-10, but the M4 Abrams is now coming across to cut me off, and I've got to be very careful that my 250-10 doesn't get shot at by Abrams. Currently my opponent just reversing that, so I'm able to sneak the 250-10 through there. So I'm just going to be hiding it behind those trees, getting my speed troop into position. Want to get them into this tree line, as there is obviously a unit of infantry or something here causing the front line to jut out like this. So that's what I'm looking for with the speed troop at the moment. This unit of Panzergrens just moving in to this forest area, just kind of gain me some ground. Speed troop are going to be assisted by the 250-10. at that range. Do get quite a lot of pinning down onto these rifles, and I managed to make them surrender, which opens up that right flank completely. Over here I managed to basically get my Panzergrenz forced to fall back due to the Zuka taking out the half-track there. But you did see the Pak-38 take out the Jeep on the left side, so I think I killed off another unit of recon that my opponent was planning to bring in. So now with my advantage on this side, it's time for me to bring in another Puma. If I can double team with a Puma, I might be able to take out Abrams. However, having Abrams come over here and get line of sight onto this road was pretty important. The other reason that Abrams probably couldn't fire actually is because this road is slightly dipped down compared to the level of this area. So that's another reason why the 250-10 could drive out that road unseen. Either way, time for the Puma to sneak up closer and closer to the M4, as I'm hoping to find a penetrating shot onto Abrams at some point in order to allow myself to continue my aggression on the right side. So some infantry arriving. They are ideally going to go to the right side here and join the 250-10. I've also got speed troop coming up, one to assist with this AT gun in the center, and also another speed troop for the right side just in case these speed troop die in the process. Panzergrenz are trying to run down this bazooka squad, and I'm trying to keep my Panzergrenführer close enough to the Puma that it retains 3 stars. That's pretty important. I really want all the accuracy I can get on this Puma so that I can go for this engagement with the M4 and possibly hit at close range and find the penetration. So I realized that my units had kind of dodgy orders, so you can see I'm now fast moving them to the right side. I must have accidentally fast move ordered them to follow the Panzergrenführer, so that's a bit dodgy there. But you can see I've managed to drop out the speed troop now, which is going to help me spot this Hellcat. Pak-38 almost found a shot onto that. Instead it's going to be firing across towards its M8 cavalry. Abrams is mowing down my Panzergrenz on the right side, but I do manage to take out that M8, which is quite nice. M4 105 now going to be brought in, and this is actually okay for me. Like, this Puma has the possibility of dealing with the M4, but not at max range. So you can see I'm just trying to break the line of sight, get as close as I can, and then do damage that way. B-26B Marauder is going to be coming in, taking out the Pak-38 on this right side. I actually managed to kill off the WC-52. And the WC-52 means cavalry scouts. But there's also an M8 cavalry here, so I'm just going to engage that with the Puma. And you can see I do manage to get a penetrating shot with the M4, which leaves the M4 with track wheel damage. I also pick off the bazooka quickly. But now with the B-26B coming in, it's going to force my Puma to fall back, which is unfortunate. But the engine destroyed on that M8 cavalry pretty much spells doom for that. And there are those cavalry scouts that were unloaded most likely by the WC-52. And with that M8 cavalry out the way, I'm able to just advance once again, get the half-track a very far way up. Another B-26B going to be coming in to harass me. So I'm finding our team the 54% territory lead at the moment, getting all the way up to Pointe du Hoc itself. And we're now moving into phase B. So Panzergrenz go ahead and take out some more recon there. And you can see now I'm going to be engaging Abrams with the Panzerwerfer, trying to get the pin there. If I can get some accurate shots, then Abrams will get pinned down. I also managed to pin down the rifles in the process, which was good. And this Pak-38 manages to get out of that tree line before it's killed off by M4 105. Now, one thing to note here is that I was hoping to take care of the cavalry scouts in this tree line. And I believe at some point I thought that I had. And therefore, like, just continue to move on. So my Puma here is just zooming up towards Pointe du Hoc. I've managed to unload both the speed troop squad and a Panzergrenz squad at Pointe du Hoc. And the Allies in this game did not do a very good job of defending that. So Pointe du Hoc back under German control. Not exactly historical there. But either way, Speed Troop going to eventually be taken out by the B-26B. Not much I can do about that. Just got to kind of ignore it and carry on with my own game plan. Puma here is just kind of sneaking up behind this tree line, hoping to get a decent shot onto the M4s at some point. This Puma, meanwhile, is engaging with the M5A1 Stuart and also the WC-52. Managed to get the internal fragments there onto that Stuart. Good shot indeed by the Puma. But it's not unlikely that that's going to happen again. 2-star Puma with 5 accuracy. Gets the accurate shot onto the M5A1. It's pretty nice. B-26B, however, going to make things difficult. Going to strafe my Puma and force it to fall back. Puma again manages to sneak out, find the line of sight onto the M4, get an internal fire onto the M4 105. Next shot is a bounce. I don't want to get shot in the face by Abrams, so the Puma's going to take cover behind. Over on this left side, we see the Hellcat is going to get hit by both the Pak-38 and the Puma at the same time. Takes a shot from both, gets itself killed. Great job indeed. Rifle's now going to be pinned down by my Puma, but currently killing off the Speed Troop relatively easily. Here comes B-26B to make my Pak-38's life a misery. This Puma in the meanwhile has managed to recover its morale, so just looking to micro that to engage these M5A1s that the 4th Armoured player has brought in. But again, going to be strafed by this B-26B. Nothing much I can do about that. Panzergrens are going to be spotted. They're going to be ripped to shreds by the M4 105 and Abrams. Mortar carrier is going to help us clean up the rifles here. But I'm still in a pretty dodgy position actually now on this top right side. My Puma here is really not doing very well after being strafed for a second time by the B-26B. 250-10 going to be coming up to help out, hoping to get an engagement onto the Stuart there, maybe distract it whilst my Puma gets out of there. I've also got a Befehl Panther now coming up on this right side though, and remember that cavalry scout squad I was talking about earlier? Well, I thought it was dead, and goodbye to the Befehl Panther. Gets hit, internal fire. It is continuing in the right direction, but the second Zuka shot not going to miss. Cavalry scouts take down a Befehl Panther. Quite a successful strike there from those cavalry scouts. So I managed to end up surrendering the rifles in this town. Puma manages to get some more shots onto the M4 105 since Abrams has fallen back, and eventually I get that kill. But we still have some troops left at Pointe du Hoc. We were hiding in the bunkers all along. But I've got those on return fire so they don't open up with their machine guns onto any infantry who passes by or any unarmoured vehicles. I don't want that to happen. The other thing that we probably missed here was that Abrams ended up getting taken out at close range by my Puma. So that was a very nice shot there as well, and really started to crush my opponent here. Just didn't really have the units to keep up with the amount of damage that I was doing to his forces. So we've taken out 2 Hellcats so far, we've taken out Abrams, we've taken out the M4 105, and honestly, like, I should be trying to push as hard as I can, but with the Panzer Lehr, there is a limited amount of work you can do with like a push, especially in the early game, due to your low amount of points income. 75 points per minute is not great. It doesn't get much better in Phase B. You actually have the lowest Phase B income out of all divisions, so you know that's not really working in your favor either. So just gotta, you know, work with what I got, try and make some ground. Got some good kills already. Now I've just got to get these Panzergrens up into the position where I can take out the cavalry scouts, and I've got to relieve the troops at Pointe du Hoc at some point. 251 going to be revealing itself, taking out the rifles here. Panzergren squad going to be destroyed on this left side. I think that was the armoured LMG rifles taking those out. Pumas now engaging these rifles. I'm also coming up against a Hellcat here, but I managed to get the shooter wounded. Again, 3-star Puma with the 5 accuracy. Not going to be too shabby at all. So I'm just pushing him up. I want to get rid of the cavalry scouts. I also want to, of course, win this engagement on Pointe du Hoc. Currently, things aren't going too well for my half-track, though, as that retreats from an M5A1. But my infantry is still in position, so that's okay. I will relieve those shortly. Rifles had no command, so they're going to get surrendered. And it's only a matter of time until I catch up to those cavalry scouts. So I end up mortaring my own Panzergrenadier here because we were busy taking out some infantry in those trees. But got them eventually with the surrender, and now we see the P-38 coming in with the 215 HE power bombs. That's going to bomb my Puma and actually kill it off, which was rather unfortunate. Move up one of my half-tracks here to try and find out where those cavalry scouts have gone. End up finding them, that's for sure. As the Zuka actually kills off my unit entirely. Still holding fire on these Panzer Grenadiers, being very patient with this engagement. I just didn't want to open up with the machine gun because the Stuarts were not yet in range. And then again, I didn't want the Panzer Grenadiers to necessarily, die. So, managed to get the ambush off there. WC-52 goes down as well to the machine gun of the Panzer Grenadier, and almost completely lost my words there, but either way, 251 is going to be now pinning down the rifles to stop the surrender onto my Panzer Grenadiers, and that worked out quite nicely. Managed to get the ambush onto that Stuart after my opponent moved them too close. So Alop here, trying hard to clean out the infantry. Definitely knew it was there, but somehow I managed to keep my Panzergrens from dying this time around and get them back into Pointe du Hoc. Get them on return fire again. Just make them an absolute nuisance in that top right of the map. And you can see now that they have found a shot onto my half-track here on top of this cliff, which is interesting. But my Panzergrens and Spear Troop are just still waiting to take care of the cavalry scouts. Now I have the 250-10 here at close range. That's pretty good for if I want to, ambush any units coming round. But if you're wondering why these units aren't already in this tree line, that's because I'm well aware of them having this M5A1 and the M4105 on the other side of the tree line. As soon as I move an infantry squad in here, I'm kind of doomed. And we can say that I have lost my Puma in the center due to that bombing strike. So this Hellcat is no longer contested, and we're going to have to work for that to make sure it's no longer a threat. And after my first Befehl Panther died on this right side, a second one is now on the way to continue to harass enemy reinforcements coming in up this road, as I don't want to give Alop a chance to get back in this game at this point. I'm currently causing quite a lot of trouble on this right side. On my left, Haymakers managed to break through with the 222s. And that's one thing I actually forgot to mention. I am playing with the crew today in this game, Val, Betts and Haymaker. I did a stream whereby I invited people to sort of challenge us. So I thought that was like a cool sort of thing to do on the stream. And it seemed like I had some decent opponents in some of the games. But either way, Panzer Grenadiers here going to get hit by the M5A1 Stuart quite hard. So Panzer Grenadiers managed to recover, which was quite nice. But those rifles still proving an issue. Managed to finally finish off the cavalry scouts, get the Panzer Grenadiers back out of that tree line just so that they are hidden. Do lose my last half track at Pointe du Hoc. But the Befehl Panther is getting into position to push round with the help of the Speed Troop and the Panzer Grenadiers. I've also got my 250-10 waiting to go round as well. That's going to lead the charge in front of the Befehl Panther, just to make sure that I'm not going to get hit by anything too hard. If that 250-10 survives, then I'm pretty sure I can go around with the Befehl Panther. And I realise that it's just an M8 cavalry and then the M4, so Befehl Panther's fine. Just one shot to the M8 cavalry, which could have side-shotted my Befehl Panther at close range, but definitely not necessarily going to penetrate in the front armour, so I was okay with that engagement. Now just a matter of catching up to this M4105 and cleaning that up. And that's going to allow me to get into a position where I can relieve Pointe du Hoc. Focke-Wulf 190G1 going to be coming in with its bomb to try and take out that Hellcat. Don't manage to get the kill this time around. Also accidentally had the evac Winchester on, so my Focke-Wulf 190 just gets out of there straight away. Focke-Wulf 190 comes in to try and shoot down the P38 in reply. And I guess one good thing about the Panzer Lehr is they do have this 2-star Focke-Wulf 190, which can do a lot of work. The Befehl Panther going to be taking out another WC-52, but all that tells me really is that there is another cavalry scout. I do manage to shoot down this P38, but not before it bombs my Befehl Panther and makes it fall back. So I'm in a bit of trouble there. Up here, M5A1 Stuart gets set on the fast move straight past my Panzergrenz. I don't manage to get the second shot off, but with the ammo storage hit, we've halved the ammo of the M5A1 as it starts to charge down my Befehl Panther, and I was kind of scared that this Stuart would actually end up killing my Befehl Panther like an absolute hero. There's also the chance that the Hellcat comes in at the flank and takes out the Befehl Panther as well. So all my eggs in one basket at the moment, and that basket is definitely under threat. So I'm really hoping that I'm able to deal with this Hellcat appropriately. Fortunately, this road being, you know, slightly slanted down, so the Hellcat not finding line of sight, even though it clearly shows that it is in line of sight. Instead, Befehl Panther recovers, takes out the M5A1. We're having a bit of an engagement here between the cavalry scouts and the Panzergrenz. And now I'm just backing up, making sure that the Hellcat doesn't find line of sight onto the Befehl Panther at close range before I'm ready to go with its morale. We're going to just sneak up here. Maybe try and get the shot on target, but just don't want to risk that. Like, that Hellcat can definitely one-shot me at that range. So instead, Betts comes in with the HS-129B1, does the job, does end up getting his aircraft shot down by the P-38, but saves my bacon with the Befehl Panther. Probably could have dealt with it itself in the end, but either way, there is another bomber coming in, so maybe not. We do see these rifles. They ended up killing off my bazooka squad that was trying to take out the Hellcat, and just going to be making that fall back. Enemy P-38 does go down to some AA out of Val, I believe. Now the Panzergrenz squad gets surrendered on this left side. We have a little bit of a salient here with some M8 command, and we've got the infantry in there as well. So that's that for now. We've managed to keep my Befehl Panther alive, and now it's time to reinforce. So I'm bringing in some AA. I've got the Black 36, and then I've got an 88, both following up the Befehl Panther. I don't want that to get bombed anymore. I want my Panther to start killing any units that come out of this spawn. That's the reason that I want it on Pointe du Hoc. Now Panzergrenz do get killed off on the right side. We're at a +2 overall. Again, mainly due to Val and Haymaker making a huge push on my left side here. Alop actually recovered quite well, but that was mainly due to the fact that I had such low income in Phase B. But now we're in Phase C. It's time for me to charge up with the Befehl Panzer IV. I've of course got my AA now to support the Befehl Panther. So I'm looking to win with this tank now. And I've still got infantry in Pointe du Hoc, so I can always get a half-track or something up there to recover the front line for me. But as long as these rifles are alive, it's probably not going to happen. But an interesting game so far, that's for sure. 251, going to be killing off some armoured LMG rifles. They don't have any AT, so couldn't deal with my half-track there. Just had that on an attack move forwards to try and take care of any infantry that killed off my Panzergrenz, so that worked out quite nicely. But yeah, just having Alop actually recover relatively well and go for these sort of flanking maneuvers was really nice throughout the game. He had those cavalry scouts in the perfect position to take out my first Befehl Panther. I was pretty convinced while I was playing that I'd already killed them. Obviously, like I said, not being the case. and the Befell Panther dying because of that. Quite an expensive mistake to make. If that first Befell Panther was still alive, things may have been very different at this point. I might have been a lot further up, but now I'm just sort of reinforcing with this Befell Panther, bringing up the 232. We've also got Val bringing up a bunch of infantry to try and take care of this salient where this infantry was. But my Befell Panther H here, just going to be weapon jamming the enemy M4. I believe that is the M4 105, so yeah, my Befell Panzer IV wasn't really in a bad spot. Befell Panther here going to be falling back, but fortunately just kind of hiding himself in the cliff, you know, as you do. Pro Panther driver just going to be trying to wiggle his way down into this cliff. Pro hiding spot right there. Gotta love it. Doesn't get much better than that. Nicely done, Panther driver. Okay, anyway, Flak 88 is going to be engaging the P38 that's coming in. That's going to be hit also by Val's AA. Does manage to bomb out my speed troop, but pins down my Flak 36 in the process. Rather unfortunate. Armoured rifles here are going to Zuka my half-track, but not before my Pioneers drop out and blow up the armoured rifles in that building. Supported by the Befell Panzer IV. We did the job, and you can see my Befell Panther recovering after it's hiding in the cliff. Is going to take out that tank. P38 Lightning comes in again for a bombing strike. Fortunately, the bomb's a bit off target there due to my AA, which was good, and Panzergrens managed to clean up the rifles on Pointe du Hoc. And there we have it. Frontline advances, goes over my infantry, pushes it all the way back up, +3 for the team. Good stuff indeed. The 232 has arrived on the main road. Half tracks are currently being hammered though by the M4A176, and I've got a couple of these 3-star Flampanzers coming up. They're going to make short work of those recon. Just trying to get this Befell Panzer into a position to take on the 76. If it's using its main gun, I can actually get a really decent shot into that while it's reloading. But here, managed to sneak up onto the MGMC. I'm coming in with the Panzerwerfer to try and pin down the 76. And then when that's pinned down, I can charge it with the Panzer IV and get a free kill in there. So that's how I decided to do it in the end. Use this Panzerwerfer to pin down the tank and then charge it down. 250-10 has arrived on the right side with the Panzerschreck, just to stop any future tanks from trying to fast move down the right side of the map. Befell Panther's getting into position onto their spawn. Befell Panzer IV is on top of this M4, and that is going to get a weapon jam first of all. Not quite getting the shot in at that range, but Flampanzer's definitely coming in quick. Driver wounded now. Befell Panzer IV making hard work out of that, with the assistance of these Flampanzers just running down the rifles, and that is pretty much a victory at this point. Some very smooth moves. The first Befell Panther maybe not so much, but throughout the rest of the game I think I played this pretty cleanly. Definitely got a lot of kills, did a lot of damage to the 4th Armoured in Phase A, which assisted my low income in Phase B. Hellcat going to be going down there. We have the 250-10 now engaging the M4. Still got my Befell Panzer IV moving up the main road, but currently 15 seconds left on the clock. HS-129B3 being harassed by the B-26B Marauder. Focke-Wulf 190 going to be coming in onto the P-38 Lightning. And that's game. So, definitely pushing through to victory at the end there. And after 30 minutes and 18 seconds, we get our total victory by reaching the score limit. Myself getting 2,174 kills to 1,080 losses. Actually, the most kills on the team. Haymaker second to that with 2,154 kills to 1,265 losses. Now, you've got to obviously realise that all of us were on comms on the stream. So we did have that advantage over our opponents through most of the games. But definitely a good recovery there, I felt, by AIOP. I'm not sure if that's ALOP or AIOP, so I'm just going to go with ALOP for now, since that's what I've been calling them. But yeah, 1,575 kills to 2,845 losses. A lot of those coming in Phase A, but managed to pick up that Befell Panther, really sort of stall my push with the cavalry scouts. A nice ambush, and then almost picked up the second one with the use of the bombers, but wasn't quite to be. Puma here definitely did work in the early game. 2 Hellcat kills, M4 105 kill, took out the bazooka. Really, really good job. Other than that, not many of my other units really did very well, other than the second Befell Panther that killed off an M4 105, the Rhino Hellcat M5A1, and this Befell Panzer that came down the middle of the road and just cleaned up the units that were in his way. So there's that. And yeah, an interesting game, I feel. Like, a lot of the kills coming off a select few units. My infantry really not doing very well in the most part. Like, we lost a lot of Panzer Grenadiers along the way. You can see an M5A1 took out my Puma. That was up in the top right at Pointe du Hoc. We saw the one get bombed by the P-38 Lightning. Abrams didn't do too much, which was really where ALOPs kind of fell off in Phase A. But that cavalry scouts finding the Befell Panther was extremely important at the beginning of Phase B. But yeah, you can see the amount of Panzer Grenadiers that I lost along the way. And that was probably my bad, not necessarily microing my infantry appropriately. But either way, guys, that has been one of the stream games. I have another one for you guys from the last stream, which was really, really fun. And I look forward to showing you that one. But in the meantime, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.